Have you ever wondered what secrets ancient Rome tried to hide? Behind the walls of magnificent Colosseums, under the roar of the crowd and the deadly gleam of swords, there was something even more dangerous than battle: forbidden love. In the arena, courage was revered, but behind the scenes, relationships between gladiators could cost you your life. Despite its glory, the Roman Empire enforced cruel rules about honor, masculinity, and desire. Públio and Aulus, two warriors destined for combat, found refuge in their mutual bond, yet every exchanged glance was a mortal risk. In this video, we'll dive into a true and shocking story of power, fear, and love in times of brutality. You will discover how these gladiators defied not only the laws of the arena, but also those of society, in a struggle that went far beyond swords. But before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're subscribed to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos filled with historical curiosities about ancient Rome. Origins and context of a Rome few know. Have you ever stopped to consider how Rome reconciled its military grandeur and bloody festivals with everyday life and intimate taboos? Our first stop is precisely to understand the setting in which this story unfolds. Rome in the 1st century AD was an empire at the peak of its expansion, with roads connecting distant provinces, a feared army, and monuments celebrating victories. Yet behind this facade of glory, there was a web of complex relationships and strict laws. The Roman elite dictated moral standards, but contradictions abounded. While they valued the warrior's strength, there existed a partial, albeit veiled, tolerance for relationships between men, especially when seen as something between patrons. And protégé bloodshed in the arena was mass entertainment. Gladiators were seen as popular stars, yet paradoxically, they were also considered inferior beings because they were mostly slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned to death. This contrast between fame and marginalization created a tense environment that in many ways allowed forbidden bonds to flourish behind the scenes. Simultaneously, there was the issue of male concubinage. Many Roman aristocrats kept young slaves to satisfy their desires, but society drew a fine line between what was acceptable and what was illegal. It was within this tangle of traditions, prohibitions, and rituals that the story of Públio and Aulus began to take shape. Públio, the fate of an unexpected warrior. Want to know how an unknown young man found himself facing the greatest arena in the world? Then get ready, because Públio's story starts now. Públio was born in a humble village, the son of a small craftsman who could barely support his family. At only 13, his destiny changed when his father, burdened by debts, was forced to sell him into slavery. In that moment, any prospect of a peaceful future vanished, and he was purchased by a wealthy merchant with a fascination for arena fighters. From an early age, Públio displayed an extraordinary willpower. Even though he was lean by gladiator standards, he showed agility and quick reflexes. His still innocent gaze held a mix of fear and curiosity, and it was that very curiosity that drove him to face the basic training at the Ludus Gladiator school with determination, believing this path might just offer him a chance to survive. However, there was something Públio did not expect. Life at the Ludus wasn't just about training until exhaustion. There, he discovered that his cellmates also shared pain, secrets, and a bond of brotherhood as strong as the edge of their swords. It was in that very environment that he would meet the man who would change his story forever. Have you ever wondered how these circumstances would shape young Públio's destiny? Hit that like button now so we can keep bringing you stories as impactful as this one. Training and the routine. At the Ludus, what is the daily routine that transforms someone into a gladiator? Discover now the daily trials Públio faced. The life of a gladiator in training was marked by strict discipline. waking up at sunrise, eating a carbohydrate-rich ration of cereals and vegetables, the famous Gladiator diet, and enduring a long day of strength exercises, running, and hand-to-hand combat were all part of it. In their spare time, the trainees were forced to clean the facilities and even entertain wealthy patrons at banquets. The trainers, ex-gladiators who had survived long enough to achieve a higher status, did not spare the lashes or shouts. They believed that only those who could endure physical and mental pain could achieve glory in the arena. During this period, Públio faced challenges that gradually forged his resilient spirit, leaving him with deep scars both on his body and his soul. At the same time, there was camaraderie. While some gladiators became rivals, others united to endure the daily humiliations together. It was amid these combat drills that Públio first noticed the imposing presence of Aulus, a veteran gladiator, renowned for his skill and calm demeanor in the face of challenges. Aulus, the experienced gladiator, wanted to meet the man who would become a decisive figure in Públio's life. Then stay tuned for what comes next. Aulus was not born a slave. The son of a Roman soldier, he spent his childhood watching his father depart on military campaigns. In one such conflict, Aulus's father disappeared, and his family lost all financial protection. Forced to fend for himself, the young man eventually enlisted as a volunteer gladiator, a risky step, but one that promised money and perhaps fame. In his early battles, Aulus demonstrated a natural aptitude for fighting and a surprising calm amidst chaos. By surviving numerous fights, he earned respect at the Ludus and a status that allowed him to choose his training sessions and even have a say in his routine. He became, in a way, an internal patron for the younger gladiators, guiding them in techniques and offering survival advice. However, there was a side of Aulus that remained silent, a melancholy from having seen friends die in the sand before bloodthirsty crowds. That hidden sadness was precisely what drew him closer to Públio. He saw in the young man a determination reminiscent of his own from years past, and he decided to help him, perhaps to atone for ghosts of his own past. Did you know this intriguing detail about Aulus? Write in the comments and share your thoughts. The meeting of hearts, the first connection. How did two such different worlds come together? Let's see now how the bond that would change everything was formed. Públio and Aulus began training together in specific sessions where the novice needed guidance and a challenge from a veteran. It was during these encounters that Aulus noticed Públio's potential to learn quickly, and the young man grew to admire not only Aulus's strength, but also his gentle way of teaching. Exchanged glances became more frequent. Their camaraderie blossomed, even though both knew that showing affection in that setting was risky. Fighting side by side, sharing pain and victories, finding a moment of respite at night after an exhausting day. All of this ignited a flame of mutual complicity. However, in a society that valued brute virility and suppressed any sign of weakness, getting too close to someone of the same sex could be very costly, especially within the confines of Ludus, under the constant watch of trainers and masters. Thus, this connection remained discreet, marked by subtle gestures and whispered conversations in the dark of the dormitories. Double life and the risk of punishment. Could this secret bond remain unpunished for long? Discover now the dangers that surrounded Públio and Aulus. Roman laws regarding homo-affective relationships were complex. There was a certain level of acceptance, provided that the active partner was a Roman citizen and no public scandal erupted. But gladiators did not have the privilege of full citizenship. They were regarded as property. Any discovered involvement could be punished with lashes, violent retribution, or even death. Publio and Aulus tried to be cautious, yet their growing closeness had already sparked curiosity among some. Whispers spread through the corridors, fueled by jealousy or simple malice. To maintain appearances, both made an effort to act coldly whenever someone was around. But with each passing day, the fear of being discovered grew. This tension directly affected Publio's performance in training. Meanwhile, Aulus, more experienced, tried to reassure him, reminding him that their primary focus was to survive in the arena. Little did they know that their greatest challenge lay not only within the Ludus, but also in the prevailing morals of the time, which could destroy them if their secret were exposed. Have you ever wondered how this constant risk affected the performance of the gladiators? Hit that like button to support the sharing of these hidden stories from ancient Rome. The escalation of tension and the first major battle, the moment had come to see if all the preparation would be worth it. Publio's first major battle in the arena. Finally, the day of Publio's debut arrived. The amphitheater was teeming with people. Nobles and commoners mingled in the stands, some betting fortunes on the outcome of the fights. Nervous, the young man recalled Aulus's advice. Keep your guard up, watch your opponent's movements, and above all, control your fear. The fight was fierce. Publio faced a more experienced opponent, but using the techniques he had learned, he managed to dodge fatal blows and with an agile move, disarm his rival, securing a victory. The crowd erupted in applause. Publio experienced a bittersweet sensation. The roar of the crowd made him feel alive, yet it also imposed a heavy burden of responsibility. Aulus, watching from a distance, was relieved by his companion's success. His eyes shone with pride, but he also feared that Publio's rise might attract increasing attention from their masters, rivals, and perhaps those who would disapprove of the bond between them. Internal conflicts and the quest for freedom. Would glory in the arena bring redemption or merely more chains? See now how these gladiators dealt with the burgeoning fame. With Publio's victory, the prospects at the Ludus shifted. The trainers now saw potential for profit and fame, which could mean better accommodations and even rewards, but also increased surveillance. The constant feeling of being watched made the relationship between Publio and Aulus even more fragile. Rumors began, circulating that one day perhaps Publio might receive the rudis, the famous wooden sword that symbolized a gladiator's freedom. However, only the best and most popular achieved this honor. Aulus, on the other hand, had already received offers to fight in major festivals where victory could secure rewards enough to guarantee his retirement. The dilemma was evident. Should they continue fighting to pursue the long-awaited freedom, risking death in every combat or attempt to escape, a virtually impossible feat under strict Roman security? Amid these conflicts, the bond between the two gladiators grew stronger, as each found solace in the other. Did you know about the story of the rudis and the gladiators' dream of freedom? Comment below and share your thoughts on these Roman traditions. The climax in the amphitheater and the Imperial surprise. What happens when the destinies of two gladiators converge in one decisive moment? Let's find out now. The golden opportunity arose when the emperor announced a grand spectacle promising memorable fights. Publio and Aulus were chosen to participate in the main event, the most anticipated fight. It was the kind of combat that only the bravest or the most foolish would dare to enter. The audience had high expectations, betting on Aulus's strength and Publio's cunning. Backstage, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Gladiators prayed to various gods and lit candles for protection. Aulus tried to reassure Publio, saying they would fight side by side and rely on their practiced strategies. What they didn't expect was that, at the end of such a balanced and twist-filled combat, the emperor would be impressed by the harmony between the two warriors. After a long duel filled with incredible blows, the crowd cried out for mercy as both emerged gravely injured but alive. Then, as if in an act of divine generosity, the Emperor raised his thumb, signaling for them to be spared. The most surprising part, he granted both of them the rudies, freeing them before all of Rome. Conclusion of the journey and historical legacy. How does the story of these two gladiators end, and what does it mean for us today? It's time to bid farewell to this epic tale. With the rudies in hand, Públio and Aulus won their freedom, something many had never dared to dream of. The audience, astonished, witnessed that almost mythical moment. A reverent silence spread, followed by euphoric applause. For the first time, they were seen not as slaves, but as free men who had survived the horrors of the arena. Outside the walls of the Ludus, the two would still face challenges. The fame of freed gladiators aroused both curiosity and suspicion. Even so, they chose to stick together, perhaps traveling far from Rome in search of a place where they could live without having to hide their feelings. The legacy of Públio and Aulus's story echoes to this day, reminding us that even in the darkest places where pain and fear prevail, love can flourish. Their names may not appear in every official chronicle, but they endure in the margins of a Rome that was far more complex than mere battles. It is precisely this complexity that fascinates us and makes us reflect on the value of freedom and human bonds. If you enjoyed this journey through time and want more fascinating stories, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with your friends. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video about ancient Rome and the Empire.